I did a conscience video and I thought I'd do a different one about letting your conscience be your guide and trying to make some kind of explanation as to how your conscience affects your how your life affects your physical body. And if we don't live a natural life as we were born to live, we are actually fighting a battle mentally all through our lives. Like the feminist is always trying to be a male because she deems the male business model life chauvinism is something to strive for. But in reality, it's the opposite to what she was born to be. Therefore, during her life as a feminist, internally and in here, she's always fighting what her natural being spirit is trying to guide her to be. So the feminist, the hard feminist, is disconnected from her maternal self. Yet she was born to be a maternal human being, more so than a male. But because that was her role. And the struggle within is a constant fight against that, thus creating depression, anxiety. You get anxiety in the business senses where you're trying to do stuff you don't really want to do or not born to do, or not um, created to do, in the sense where you're doing the opposite to your own reasoning. So you have a blueprint of who you are as a woman or as a man. You have this blueprint that says, this is your gender, this is who you are, this is what's expected of you through your life because this is who you are. A cat has a blueprint to say you're a cat. And a female cat knows to be a female cat, to have kittens and look after those kittens, to mate with males. And the male cat has his own blueprint too. Humans have the same. We have a female and a male blueprint which we're supposed to adhere to throughout our lives, and it brings forth within us contentness, a wonderful feeling of wholesome well-being, and is obviously very good for our health and our inner self-belief because we're doing things that we naturally feel good doing instead of fighting those things to do things we aren't naturally designed to do and be. And if we are fighting it, then we are kind of like arguing with our blueprint. We're telling our blueprint, no, this is not who I am. This is who I am. And we do a lot of goal setting and a lot of mind manipulation, brainwashing our own mind to get out there and be that great business model, to have that career, to have all that money, to have a car of our own that's expensive and flash and whatever. And that's going against our original human design and blueprint. And whether we're successful in the world in the sense of materialism and the opposite of what we were naturally born to be, it has no is not something to be proud of, because that success, what we call success, is not success. It's actually, I don't know. It's actually a fight against our own self. It's us trying to take our own self and our original models that we were designed to be, fighting tooth and nail throughout our lives to not be that, so that we can be held up by other human beings who are the same. This is the reason why over half the women, I hear it's a lot higher in the so-called Western developed world, are on antidepressants. They're ferociously trying from high school onwards to be the opposite to what they were born to be. They're trying to be the opposite to natural spiritual self. See it this way: you're a female, you have a female spirit, okay? You have a female blueprint, which is which is a plan. The blueprint is a plan, and so of natural development. So you've got this female spirit saying, um, you have a child, and feminism tells you to put the child into childcare at the age of 3 months old. Your spirit saying, love your child. I love this child. I adore this child. Please, please, don't do this. But your mind, which is conformed and controlled and being brainwashed, tells you put the child into childcare and break that maternal connection. Once the maternal connection is broken between you and the child distrusts you. And you kind of probably distrust yourself because you're doing this constant fight. It's a well-known fact that when a woman takes a child to childcare and goes back to work, she has a lot of internal issues over having done that. And that's gold. And that's her own self battling her every day, trying to say, don't do this, until eventually they get used to it and the baby gets used to it and the maternal connection's gone. So that it takes a lot to get it back. So what I'm saying here is that spiritual self telling us that we are of a certain gender, of a certain type, of a certain being, of a certain form, of a certain blueprint, is our conscience. It's the voice within that saying to us, this is who you are, this is what you are, don't make those choices. We are in a society which constantly tells us to conform, to throw away all other forms of thought and to just follow this commercial business model of what a human being should be, and to get out there in the workforce, educate our mind to conforming to the system, to getting a job, to making money, to purchasing many things, in the belief that in doing this, we are going to be happy. And then it's getting married and having children. But with a huge amount of divorces these days, that happiness is not reaching us, the many. And the many are going without that, and they're struggling and trying to figure out, well, what's going on? Well, I'm falling in love, I'm getting married, I've got a nice car, I'm doing all the things that everyone in society has told me this is what I must do. So I'm doing these things. And what I'm getting is the opposite of what I should be. I'm not getting that happiness. I'm not getting that joy. I'm not getting that love. And I don't feel I'm giving that love. Well, what's wrong? What's wrong is your conscience is in a constant, your spiritual self is in a constant battle with your human mind, and your soul, your soul is filled with the teachings of a commercial society. So your soul, your spirit, and your mind are in this constant argument every single day. And that constant argument is what gives you depression, anxiety, and emotional battles, which is what they call chemical imbalance. So your emotional battles are your heart's crying out, I want my child with me all through the day. The mind is saying, this is the mind model which was created by feminism, if you're a woman, saying, put your child in childcare and get on with your job. Your spiritual self is saying, this is who you are, this is the model of you were born to be, this is how you should live and how you should, act and stuff. And as I said in the conscience video I made before, if we do wrong to people, and they say let your conscience be your guide, we might find that 10 years later we've done someone wrong. We didn't know we did wrong 10 years earlier. So when we finally find out we've done them wrong, our all through that time, and now our conscience is constantly telling us, make it right. fix it what it is. If we don't make it right, then we end up with addictions, mental illness, anxiety, depression, on top of the original issues we have from the mind model of commercialism. So your heart's fighting commercialism, your heart's fighting the other things that we've done wrong. And a wholesome life is the other thing. We should look at our children and say, I don't want my children to go through this. I want my children to be brought up differently. What can I do to make it different so that they don't end up going through the suffering I'm currently going through? Well, the first is make better choices for a more healthier physical life, which is good food, good water, exercise, and avoiding anything that's toxic. Mentally, it's good thoughts, good living, not allowing junk from TV, advertising and such into your brain, having healthy thoughts about people, about love, about sex, about compassion, having empathy for others, and compassion especially, that and a strong desire to see the world a better place. And that brings forth maturity as we see that the past was immature. We want to be mature. If you want to be mature, you have to get hard on yourself. You have to kick butt, yours. You have to say, I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing this wrong. It's like when I was told I was going to get emphysema for smoking. I'd been smoking for 30 years. I was really addicted to smoking. And I kept comparing emphysema with the joy of smoking, which wasn't much fun because I was coughing and my health was going down. I was sick all the time. And I was thinking, I've got to get rid of this. And I had to force myself, and I went cold turkey. And I ended up going out to the garage most of the time because my temper was getting mad. I wanted to smash things up. I wanted to go crazy and yell at people. And I just kept telling myself, because my wife had left by then, I just kept telling myself, it's not the children's fault. I'm giving up smoking. They're not to blame. So I'd let the older children look after the kids in the house because they were teenagers. And Tracy was about 15. And I would go out to the garage and spend hours at the garage making things, doing things to get over the smoking issue. And I did. And it's hard, but I knew I had to kick butt and make sure I did it. I had to force myself, go cold turkey and have the shakes and freak out and get really, really upset. And it took a while. I remember by the time the first 3 weeks up, I was shocked. I was really shocked that it had gone by. And I was doing 11K walks as well. So I was leaving the house, without cigarettes. But I was doing that before I gave up smoking. So the whole 11Ks I wasn't able to smoke till I got home. The point is you have an inner voice, which is your conscience, but it's also your guide. And your inner voice, my inner voice was telling me, you must give up smoking. My mind was saying, no, keep smoking. You need cigarettes. You can't survive without them. The inner voice was saying, do you want to live on a ventilator, with an oxygen mask for the rest of your life? I remember reading about a guy who could only go from his house to his letterbox with an oxygen mask on because he had emphysema. And he couldn't go out anywhere else, otherwise he'd die. And I was like, oh no, that's not going to be me. I like cycling, I like tennis, I like exercising, and I thought, no way. So my inner voice balanced up the advantages on one side. My mind was saying was full of weakness. And my body was full of weakness, so I had the cravings for smoking and the mannerisms and the habits to give up. But my mind was telling me, don't give up. It's impractical. You're going to yell at the kids. You're going to do this wrong. You're going to do that wrong. You're going to take up alcohol because I've already given up alcohol. You're going to do it was always filling me full of doubts. And so I thought, no, the model of walking down the street, yeah, I mean, having gas masks on, it was too much. So I forced myself to see the better option. I forced myself to see what was healthier. I forced myself to make myself do the hard yards and give up smoking because I was told I had to give up now. Not in 5 weeks' time, not in 10 months' time, not in 5 years' time. Right now, I wasn't going to have emphysema. I was having heart palpitations, which is when your heart goes and you can see it through your clothes. I could look down and see my heart going like this. I was at a very hard stage in my life where I was really physically suffering. I was clearly going to have a stroke, heart attack, or something because my mental life with my family, my ex-wife and my oldest daughter having school issues and all that, it was just driving me crazy. They were all killing me. So I pushed them all on the background and got on with what I thought was right. And I listened to my inner self. I listened to my heart. I listened to my conscience. I listened to my internal guidance. And I went cold turkey and forced myself. This is the point in our life where sometimes we know that something's right, and in our mind we constantly try to talk ourselves out of it. And we have that huge battle. But if we listen to the inner self and we listen to our heart and we weigh up the odds, we can see what we really should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. And we shouldn't be listening to the mind, which has been trained by society to do the opposite. I've seen a few cases where young females have been told to have an abortion and they refuse. And there's a while of doubt whether they think they should. And then, because it's such a normal thing today, and then they don't. And then they have told me afterwards they're so happy they didn't. Then they turn around and they they got to bring the child up, and their husband says go to work, and they're like no, and so they're having this. They were taught in their heads to be a career-minded person, to be basically a man in woman's clothing, and get out there and have that career and do all these things. And but their heart has said, no, I'm not doing that. My heart, their heart just says, no, I want to be home with my kids. Some of them went to homeschooling, and some of them took their children to school, and they just wanted to be involved with their children and in a day-to-day basis, talking to them, helping them, guiding them. This is what I wanted to do when I homeschooled. It wasn't against the schools. It was I wanted to put my personal input in on a day-to-day basis to help form the minds of my children. And what they did when they left home was their own businesses. But up until that point, I wanted to do my best to help them out. And so that was what my goal was. So your inner self should be your guide, not your mind. And you need to know the difference between your inner self and your mind. Your mind is a product of your soul, which is a product of your upbringing, which tells you to do this and that. The reason why people have so much trouble looking out of the square is the square is the content of their soul. It's not their heart, their soul, which is in their mind. And the mind reaches into the soul and uses it to guide them. The soul is the contents of your life. Your heart knows best. Your heart knows what's right. Your heart is full of values and morality, good morals, standards, decency, because it can see how good morals affect our life and make our life better. It can see how love can make us happy and content and fill our lives full of joy. You can see that honesty is the best policy because it creates good friends, lots of love, companionship, and decency, and all the good things of life. So your heart knows. Your heart is wise. Your heart's full of wisdom and full of common sense and good logic, whereas your mind can be full of cold logic, cold creation of your upbringing. So if we separate the two, and we can use the two together, but we can curb the mind when the mind decides that being too practical or being unresponsible, it's the easy way out, but it's a cowardly way out. And there's no form of goodness that comes from being a coward. It may save us in certain ways, but it might destroy us in other ways. So, and the other thing is if we don't let our conscience be our guide, we have to live with the results, and it can drive us crazy. You know, it can drive us crazy with guilt, with shame, with doubts, with self-hate, with such unhappiness. And the result of that physically and mentally is anxiety, depression, self-hate, suicidal thoughts. And I want to just wish we were never born. So listening to our inner self is the safest and the best thing we can do for our future and for our own children's sake.